Hi, Blind Guy Garage again. So what we have here is a Kawasaki Prairie 700 carburetor set. There's two, and in another video I've already taken them apart, but I don't think we got this deep into it. So what you have on these, and I'm trying to make this quick because I know if I'm looking at videos to try to find things about stuff out, I'm trying to see. I know it's futile, but so here's, see here, where we at? This is your secondary carburetor. So as this carburetor gets controlled, this sits between a spring and another lever, and it rotates it and opens and closes the valve. And I'm talking low because I'm like right on top of the camera here. So where these leak is right here. I think when I flip this over, let's see here. The way I take these apart is I always try, I take them apart in my lap, yeah, with a rag and stuff. But these have antifreeze running through them. So let's see here. I'm going to try to set this down. Very dirty workbench, very frustratingly dirty, but see here. So here's your fuel transfer tube. They always leak. This has not been tampered with. See how loose that is? It just kind of, so the O-rings shrink up and they leak. And now it won't go back into hole. Go to your home. All right. There's two long bolts that hold this set together. I think that was in the other video. And I did it on the machine because the machine ran fine. It just was leaking right there. But on this one, oh, it was so gummed up and so nasty that the choke won't even move. The choke wouldn't even move. Let's see here. And we were basically dust. All the fuel that was inside was dust. Now I've had the machine running, so I know the engine is good. But we got a carb kit, and we're going to do most of the kit. Probably not all of it in this video because, well, lately I'm having to chemical dip. Chemical dip. I'm looking through the camera. Chemical dip. Get you some, especially if you're going to tamper with carburetors a lot. It doesn't hurt your O-rings, gaskets, or anything, and it turns all the nastiness to goo and gunk, and you can just bloop, drop your stuff in there and not worry about it. It might change the color of your carburetor, so if you don't want that to happen, maybe not so much doing that. But so let's see. Yes. This is your antifreeze. Antifreeze runs through here, so that I'm assuming, it's not like I'm an expert at this, but see how tight that is? It's got good O-rings on it. It was actually hard to take it apart because of this O-ring on this. This is just an air vent. But the circuitry of the carburetor is not necessarily what we need to know, but look, you even have a little adjustment. The spring goes right there, and then that little flipper on that other one goes right there. So then if they're not 100% right, which you do this off of the machine because you can't get to the screw, you sneak a screwdriver between the two carburetors and you make sure that both of those throttle blades open and close at the same rate. Then the carburetor they're kind of self-adjusting in a way. This particular one has this on it. Not all of them have that adjustment. This is for your main idle. But on this one, we have a air-fuel ratio. I don't know if that's aftermarket or what, because this four-wheeler did have some aftermarket stuff on it. But no worries at all with, I mean, I would replace those O-rings too, because it's not seating very well. And you can't make it seat any better when you put the two carbs together. So, bloop. And then there. Then a little tight, little tight. Now those were not leaking, but that's your, and you want, I don't know if we have, I don't think it has an orientation that it has to go. No, it's completely the same both directions, so it doesn't matter. But you'll have O-rings in your kit for that. I'm using an all-ball kit because I'm a dealer for them, so. So then I'll take the slides out, and you got to be careful with on these. You got to be careful because on the slide side of things, there is a see if I can find a spot in the top of the thingy. There's a bump. There it is. So the bump right here on this cover, that bump is a air bleed, and there's a little jet there, an air bleed jet I would call it. And if you lose that, they don't make it. And I've had one that had so much corrosion get stuck in there, or so much fluid or whatever it was that got in there. I want to see if I've got my, I might have to put y'all on pause for a minute and see if I can't find my headband, because I need both hands here. But I had so much corrosion get inside this section around this air bleed jet thingy. It corroded it so bad that it crumbled apart in my hands, and we ended up having to buy a whole new carburetor, or a used carburetor set, to try and to get those jets out of it. And I'm just trying to find my, oh yeah, look at there. Every time I turn the camera on, it's zoomed in. Trying to find my head mount for the camera, so I can put you on my head and use both of my hands here. And I don't know where I put it. But, so if you aren't careful and you lose that, I don't know if they make it now, and they didn't before, but they don't make it as far as I know. That go in the shop. Well, I'm gonna see if I can pause the camera and go find the mount. Guess what I found? The mount. Alright. And let's see here. I'm gonna try to get it in there without hitting a button. Alright. So, I think it's focused about right yonder. So you take this off, and I have the vise open, but it's not grabbing it, see? We're just sitting in there. Just loosely. And your float, my float and everything is still loosely sitting on the other side, not touching anything. Or now this is one of the times I have to focus, so forgive me if I stop talking. Crack. And pray that these pop loose easily, because getting vice grips on those to take them off is a pain in the rectum. And you have to really make sure that your screwdrivers fit your screws correctly, because if you don't, and you round that little screw out, and you're not like me and you got 15 carburetors sitting over in a bucket somewhere that are all junk, but they have these screws all over them, and you're holding on to them for screws and these caps. I've seen those broken. I've had stuff like that. You know, a lot of times with the chemical dip, we can repair carburetors and stuff. We don't have to go buy new ones every time. The only thing with that is sometimes if you're paying a company, so you're going to have a long spring in there. And putting this in the chem dip is not really necessary. Make sure that the bleeder is, the bleeder usually sits in the, yeah, putting these in there is not really necessary because they're, I mean, they're plastic. You can spray them off, and the chem dip doesn't really, I mean, it'll clean them off, but what's, you know, it's not, you can clean those outside. You don't have to use the expensive chemical, get the dirty stuff in the chemical, and then these screws are shanked, so you can't really over tighten them. Bloop, makes the noise. Same thing with the spring, don't really mess with that. I have in past on other carbs, not these, stretch these out a little bit so I can slow that slide down some, mainly just because the throttle response was, and what it was doing was overfueling way too quick, but then it would, you know, making adjustments to the needle didn't really help, or couldn't really be done. Not couldn't help, but didn't really be done. Didn't really have anything to adjust them with. So the air bleed is right there. I hope it's in the screen. And without being able to see, getting that air bleed out, it's not going to be, it's never the easy thing for me. Ooh, that bladder's stuck in there. Yeah, she's gonna have to take a bath too, I do believe, because those are not cheap to get either. These slides with the diaphragm on them. There it is. Oh my gosh, guys. Alright, so I'm gonna pop it out of the rubber, because if it pops out while I'm moving it, it's insanely small, and it will make your life horrible. Look at that. If you lose that little turd, life sucks. I'm telling you. I'm moving around a bunch because I want it to get in the frame. I'm focusing, guys. I'm focusing. That's why I keep stopping. Because that little turd, if I drop this thing right now, I'm in deep doo-doo. Because this also is not magnetic. So, I wish I had like a little cup that I could clamp around this and set it down in here. I'm even scared to put it in there because I'll be searching all my days for it. But these usually don't get dirty or filthy, and they're not usually corroded. But the way my brain works is a little different than most. So this is where I put all the precious in the freezer. And this little freezer thingy doesn't have any holes in it. So I'm going to stick it right there. Yep. I won't lose it in there. I got to remember, and that's my goofy little spot to help me remember things. So, and what I meant by adjusting the needle is these needles, some of these are adjustable. They'll have slides in them, so you put your hand over the end there, if I'm in it, and then flip it over and it'll fall back. I'm going to set you back right there, just setting it there. This is plastic. I need to have them in a little tray, but bloop. So Kawasaki is good about putting them on there. You have an E-clip on a Kawasaki. Whoa. And a washer. And another washer. So these little washers are shims, and they sit on that, and they do your halfway spot between what these preset grooves on the needle are. So you take the E-clip off, you can move it up, and that'll slow the rate of fuel at which comes in when this slides up and down. And I might have to get a seeing eye person, because I dropped one of the washers and I heard it hit the workbench, but I felt it. Oh boy, a big old gust of wind came through. And shut the door. So yeah, I got to be careful for the rest of the day coming through here, because I want a seeing eye person to help me find my washer. I may have to shut the door. I can't be dealing with a bunch of huge amounts of wind and stuff. And or it can shut for me. That this Chem Dip will wash on these a little bit, so we're going to drop it down in there, and I'm not going to literally drop it because I don't like that stuff getting on me. It's kind of sticky, and this is not necessary to clean, but I'll lose it if it's not in there. And then I may just do one at a time, because the Chem Dip ain't big enough. The can that I have isn't big enough to cover all of this. Like do both carbs. And also on these, your choke assembly has to come off at different times. So one carburetor, I guess you'd call it the lead carburetor, the main carb, I don't know. But it has a little bracket, and then this one has a little bracket that holds the choke on. This little bracket here is in the other carburetor. Well, there's another bracket that's on the carb like this, so it holds the choke collar, I guess, in there. But what made me know this carburetor is pretty rough was when I was pulling the choke on the handlebars, this was barely moving, because they're gummed up so bad it's stuck in there. But what we got to do, I got to make sure that I am mindful of where my float is, because I don't want to smash on it. Yeah, we're right there, so we're good. And let's see, screwdriver. Here comes the rain, so it might make the video a little noisy. But I don't like going super deep into these carbs, because some of the parts are very unavailable. You got to get this bracket off to get that out, because I mean that's where we're gummed up at too, so I got to get that off. And the first one came off just fine, but somebody's been in them before and they've boogered up the screw. So now I've got to see if I've got another screwdriver. Let's see. I didn't put any of them on the thing. And I can't remember where I put that plastic cap. I'll set that down in there before I lose it. Let's get the can of spray paint up out of the way for a minute. Yeah, I done set that cap down. Sometimes I wish y'all could see the video and be like, it's right there. Oh, thank you. Oh, there it is. Alright. I need to get me a tray. Like this. You know. Yeah, it's got other stuff in it, but if it's magnetic, it'll stay right yonder and won't get blasted off of the workbench. Yeah, it's shaking the workbench, it's so stuck. Alright, let's put you right there. Alright. Oh yeah, screwdriver. So now I gotta find a screwdriver that's gonna fit that screw better than the screwdriver I have over there, because somebody has messed it up. Bigger. We need bigger. The shape of it. It's not bigger, but the shape of it's different. And I don't know my screwdriver sizes. There's some people like they know every little. I don't know that stuff. I just know what feels right. That kind of sounds weird, but we're pretty rounded. Pretty rounded off in there. That one wants to pop right out without much effort. So let's see if this one... Oh yeah, we're not even touching the corners with that one. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This is the crap you end up dealing with. This is why, like, people are like, oh, all it needs is a little carburetor work. Yeah, yeah, Sure enough, buckwheat. Sure enough does, yeah, Needs a freaking carburetor rebuild after somebody's done screwed with it and messed it up. Ruined it. I'm gonna try. Just slightly. We're not trying to drive a hole through this thing. We're just trying to get some. No, it wants to round it out. I'm trying not to move any material. That one fits a little nicer, so maybe. And tapping on the screw will sometimes help them. Come loose. So we're going to try some more. Come on now. Come on, dadgummit. Oh, don't move, please. Alright, you gotta go back to your home. Alright, see. Get back. The device rotates and it tried to rotate on me. Ah, that was a good cracking noise. That wasn't just my elbow or my wrist. Whew. It's a little scary sometimes pulling this stuff out when you can't see. See this little bracket has a hook on it, and it holds your thing in there, your choke assembly screw doohickey. And I think most of the kits I fool with come with the little springs. But I mean, honestly, any carburetor that I've ever seen that spring has gotten bad enough that it's rusted or broken, the carburetor's trash. Like, you're not going to you're not going to recover that carb. It's done. We're going to have to put that somewhere somewhat safe. And then I'm going to put my bracket back on, because you've already seen, like, I'm losing crap already. So, where we go? Where's your, I think it, maybe, I can't remember how it went on. I don't commit everything to memory. So, I just put things together the way it makes sense to me, because I've been messing with this stuff for so long. Oh, and by the way, can't see a thing. So, I found the screw hole with my middle finger on my right hand. I just realized that the camera's probably not seeing anything I was doing. I found the screw hole with my finger on my right hand, and then I'm going to put this screw back in. It's snug, because I just want to get this one ready to drop in the hole. And we're going to take, last but not least, and probably should have been a long time ago, I want to use the vise a little bit to hold it, because now we're in that situation where we need the vise to hold it. And I know, yep, don't have soft jaws on here. Cry about it. That's what I tell my kids. Won't you just cry about it? Go over there and cry. I'm just kidding. My kids are tough. They have thick skin. There goes a good cracking noise. It's a good thing I can do this without looking, so I can keep my head where y'all are in frame. So, here comes the fun part. See, this is a little easier than lawnmower carburetors, because lawnmower carbs, you slide that bar out through the metal, and a bunch of times that metal is just so corroded and junky that you can't get anything out of it. And I will say too, you can get to these bowls while on the machine. And if you're talented, you can take this apart, clean that stuff up, and put it back in while it's on the frame, and you don't drop any parts, screws, or things and such. But I will say, you make that mistake once and drop it, you're usually done. So typically I try to put a rag with a magnet under the rag. This is what I was looking for. I'm hoping that this is the right size. A magnet under the rag and stuff, so that maybe, just maybe, it'll catch my screws. Yeah, it's the right size, but this is going to be, I think it's called the emulsion tube. And it's rough coming out. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that gummed up in there. Yeah, it still won't come out. You should be able to crack that loose and it just come out by a finger tight. Like right now it's doing, but it's almost over with. And sometimes they have, this is not just, I remember these carburetors, it's, sometimes they have a O-ring on them, and you would think that it goes in there so tight it wouldn't matter, but it does. And you take the jet off. I'm going to slide it down in here, because most of the time I try to take that jet off on the carb and it turns the freaking tube, and then I still got to just take the tube out and do this anyway. So I just gotten to where I just go bloop, take it out, take it off, drop it in the chem dip. My fingers are sticky because of the chem dip. It's almost like when you get antifreeze on your fingers. So we're going to take there we go. And it came right loose. It wasn't super tight. I just always go into the it's going to be tight mode. That wind, man. There's the jet. This thing has that little tray in there, which is very handy. There's the emulsion tube, or what I'm going to call that. Then we have another, it looked like there's another standoff in there. Ow, my back popped, that hurt. Let's see here. Yeah, it turned. So that must be more fun stuff. An extension. Here comes the rain. Is it going to be a gully washer or just a bloop and it's done? Alright. But this is what you do. And using that stuff, I'll try to remember to get it out, because I'm afraid we're going to have to shut the video off, because it ain't going to be any count, and this stuff's got to sit for a long time. That's, I don't know that does anything, but it's a standoff for the, I think it's just an adapter for the emulsion tube. Bloop. And then, oh yeah, I'm going to take this out. They're not usually this easy. I wish all carbs had this on it. This is the air-fuel ratio screw, and I knew, I've already checked it, it was 3 screws out, or 3 turns. You take the spring off. There was no washers behind it. Alright. So, just because, for sake of not losing the stuff, and I got to remember, this spring is a different spring than the spring that goes on the throttle linkage between the carburetors, which is down in here too, because, you know, don't want to lose that. And then this, it won't hurt anything to go in there. This thing, it is kind of cumbersome, but it'll, you know, it does that. So let's see if I can. This is a pretty big carburetor too, considering there it goes. Might just take this back out, pull this up, hold this with one finger, pinky, and get the diaphragm out, because I don't want to. I got to thinking while I'm trying to do a video and all this, you know, imagine that if I set this carburetor down on top of that diaphragm, what if it damages the diaphragm? So, and I'm trying to get some of the bulk of this stuff out, so I'm going to set this and get it submerged completely. Yeah, so you may need some more Chem dip. Ew, it's on me. Alright, and then I may have to just, I got multiple buckets of this stuff. And, I mean, it does go bad over time, but I'm thinking we're going to have to get the other bucket. Ooh, that's getting in a boo-boo. That hurts. Lost my balance. There's another bucket. And I believe it's got a carb in it. It's all in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, brooms everywhere. Okay. Let's see here. Get you. I have a thing somewhere for this, but there, let's use this. We're gonna just, because I grabbed the wrong can, that I bet this one has way more goodness in it. And what I might end up having to do with my cans of Chem dip is find something to pour them in that's clean. pour them in there and get all the gunk out of the bottom, because there's a lot of sludge and stuff built up in these things when you do this a bunch. Whoa. Hey, see, this one's don't have anything in it. And our fluid level is almost the same as the other one with the carburetor in it. So, just it'd be easier, hopefully, to do this. Yep, she's dripping. Alrighty, so now it's submerged. Go home. Alright, yep, it's nasty and ooey gooey, but we got some of these right there. The other day, or yesterday actually, I was out here sweeping and couldn't figure out why the dustpan wouldn't work. Yeah, that's what I said. And it was the dadgum blind guy was holding it upside down. And so dustpan doesn't work too good and it's upside down. But yep, so that's what you do. You put that in there, you let that sit. They recommend a time. I just put it in there and let it sit there for a long time and wait a while and then come back to it later, go work on something else. I'm gonna set this carburetor in the doohickey right here, and now hopefully that don't get knocked off, which I mean anyhow, I would grab the camera and do a proper goodbye to y'all, but my fingers are sticky and the rain is coming. It's tripped over the hose. It's getting here. Yep, it's raining. Alright. Bye, you guys. Like, share, subscribe. I hope this video helps a little bit so that you know what you're getting into. Just imagine I'm talking right here. And they're not terrible, but there are some things you need to watch out for, because those little air bleed things, they're not in every carburetor. And this stuff works wonders. And make sure your screwdrivers fit tight. Don't, oh, that's close enough. Don't do that crap, because you round out them screws, you have to use mini pliers, and a lot of times that stuff don't even work, so you end up in a big hour-long process just to do a minor job. But these carburetors are they are tricky. This is more of an advanced carburetor guys thing, mainly because you've got to really be careful at how you put them back together. I'll do another video on putting them back together, because there's a process to that as well. Taking them apart is a little bit easier than putting them back together. Yeah. Thank you guys. Y'all stay blessed.